It's time for Q&A in the Kitchen. It's a podcast in YouTube series where tattoo artists and piercers talk about some common questions that those that collect tattoos and piercings may have or may not have. Who knows? Brought to you in part by Skin Kitchen Tattoo and Axiom Body Piercing. Yay! Got the usual crew, the crew that do.
Put a hole in me, DaVo.
I will.
The Motley Crew.
Starting over here on my direct or all the way on the right is Jimmy St. John, tattoo artist of the Skin Kitchen.
Applause.
Applause. I think it's this one.
That's even better.
Better.
Oh, okay.
He's a funny man. Funny man.
I try.
Maybe it's
Be here all week.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And then directly to me, to my right, Jack Lowe of Skin Kitchen Tattoo, tattoo artist, and the owner of the Skin Kitchen. I'm DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio.
Should have done the wah.
And then over here is Brent Starr, tattoo artist at Skin Kitchen.
Hi, guys. Yeah.
They like you.
Yeah,
They're popular.
right, cool.
What is
Okay,
it?
can I stop using the sound effects?
Yeah, for now.
So today we're going to talk about what is the future
In the future.
You need a
of
sound
body
for that.
piercing and tattooing. What we're going to kind of talk about is how we see maybe technology changing piercing and tattooing in the future. We can talk a little bit about how it already has. Maybe
Sort
we
of
should start
green.
there.
I was kidding. Sorry.
Yeah, well, when I started, it was still illegal in some states in the United States. From what I understand and what I remember, there was a big hepatitis outbreak. And
1952, I believe, is when it happened. 50, 51, right around there.
Yeah, fair enough. And so places like New York and some other cities, states.
Oklahoma, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, all them.
Yeah,
Usually anywhere near a military base.
Yep.
right. It was outlawed. You know, back then it was not nearly the process it is now. Back then they would use a sponge and a bucket, and they would use that bucket all day or for several days, and they would literally just pull the sponge out of the bucket to clean you off, throw that sponge back in that bucket with that same water, keep on rocking. So you can see how easy it would be to spread the gook. But as, you know, humans evolved and we developed these ways to not transmit said things, it slowly started popping back up. And, you know, so just in the time that I've been tattooing, I've seen it from illegal to now a very standard or kind of stable part of our culture.
Yeah.
Part of mainstream culture now.
Yeah. So, man, to think where it's going to be in another 30.
I don't even think I can imagine.
A lot more common. Technology-wise, the biggest changes I've seen, at least on the tattoo side, is, of course, the implication of using electronic devices for drawing.
The iPad.
You know, the iPad, and before that, it was printing out even font on a computer. How much of a big step that was.
I drew everything by hand on paper.
That's so true. The computer, well, the internet, being able to pretty much get any reference material that you want. I mean, and more all the time, you know.
That's awesome.
But, the first, I don't know, 7 or so years at least, you know, there wasn't really a strong internet as far as what the content is now.
No.
So now that the content is, I mean, pretty much any human thought is out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Any question that has been answered is out there somewhere. We're able just to go grab, you know, say somebody wants a blue jay. Well, before I had to go to a bookstore or a library. I had to find a book on birds, and I had to look through to hopefully find a picture of a blue jay. And even then, it's not going to be in the pose I want.
Nope. You got to change the pose after that.
Yeah, so it's hours and hours of just looking for a reference material. And then on top of that, it's having to redraw that reference material without the reference you really need for that to create the drawing. And now you type blue jays into an image search on Google, and you're literally going to have hundreds of thousands of pictures.
I would imagine.
Go ahead.
Oh, I would imagine here soon there would be 3D references of anything that
Well, there
you
already
would-
is a lot of
like a
those.
3D model.
Right.
You already have those.
I just did that piece, Ghost Riders in the Sky, the Johnny Cash
Yes.
kind of deal, and he wanted to put the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse in there, like kind of chasing the cattle. So I got a handful, 2 or 3 different horses, kind of in a running pose, in my 3D software, and manipulated that to the angle I wanted. And screenshotted that and used that as an underlying reference. A lot of the same way we do with we've got program that you can do that with the human body.
Yeah.
You
The
can,
hands and-
yeah, it's kind of like the digital version of that wooden guy you see with the light bulb
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
head, who does not move at all in any kind of organic
No.
matter at all. I don't know who those help, but God bless you. But yeah, we can move practically every finger and every muscle to get these really cool dynamic poses and start from there. But back in the day, man,
You drew that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the internet of tattooing at that point in time was Flash.
Well, yeah.
And that's why Flash is
Yeah.
I know you
and those-
drop like a custom piece and the customer come in and go, man, it's beautiful. I love it. Can you put the doves on the other side of the ship and the compass rose on the other one?
Yeah.
That was a
And
real
just switch
killer.
them. Like, yeah, no problem. Give me another 8 hours and I'll redraw all this
right.
because it was on paper.
Yeah, and the thing is that I there's people probably getting tattooed now that have never ever seen a piece of Flash.
Yeah.
And that is kind of a weird thing. I just thought of that. Like they have no point of reference to walking into a studio and seeing all those designs and all
Yeah.
this craziness.
Back then, that's pretty much all you had to offer, especially back in the pre kind of revitalization or the rediscovering of
Renaissance,
tattooing.
yeah.
The renaissance of tattooing. They would have acetate, so it's a piece of plastic that they would make a groove in with a vibrating pen, basically scratches in acetate that they would put.
Sprinkle the
the
stencil stuff on it.
basically graphite.
Yeah.
A lot of them would use, and you'd put Vaseline on the skin, and you would take this hard, piece of acetate on this rounded body part, and try to pull the graphite out of the acetate grooves onto that Vaseline.
Yep.
And then
that's,
tattoo that.
and imagine how easy that is to mess up. How just one touch or wipe and your stencil is gone.
Well, that's probably why a lot of the old school stuff kind of looks. Some of it looks a little distorted and stretched. Like you're kind of like, how did that face
It
get like
could
that? Well,
be.
like
Because if you're not a
Yeah.
strong artist or really don't have a strong third eye to, even though that got wiped off, obviously it goes
what
here
goes.
and there. Then you're guessing,
Yep.
really at that point. So now with what we have, I use that Epson printer with an ink you get that will print the stencil out just like a normal inkjet printer, but it uses stencil ink.
Yeah.
And you can do gradations on it.
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can basically take a photograph of someone's face and just take it just like it is and print it out and stencil that and see all the little nuances and shadows. Where before we were stuck with the Thermofax, which
was a
God
giant
bless the Thermofax.
Yeah, it was a giant
like,
technological
that before
technology
the
leap.
before the iPad, that was probably like the most important thing that you could have is a good Thermofax, because that's really kind of determined how clean and how nice your tattoos look.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just those steps, man. What would be the next now? I'm using.
Well, and the machines have changed. We've gone back to
Oh.
rotaries. They're so much more controllable and more precise than the old coil machines and
Right.
the needle cartridges now instead of a whole needle bar
Right.
and soldered tips.
That's a good point. Yeah, the rotary machines, they kind of, and I think what made the rotary machines come back is the company who invented that. They call it a safety cartridge, but the cartridges for the tattoo machines, they invented the cartridge and it fit into a rotary machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that,
Revitalized it, I think.
yeah, it made people try, if they wanted to use this type of disposable cartridge,
Yeah.
they had to use this rotary machine. And I think that showed, especially a lot of Americans, because overseas the rotary machines were pretty popular.
Yeah.
But over in America, it was all about the electromagnetic machine, the coil machines. So anyway, I think that opened artists' eyes up
so.
to, wow, these rotaries have a lot of positives
And they're,
to them.
yeah, they're consistent.
And from that, the rotaries just exploded, and now a lot of artists use rotaries. And then after that, I'd say the next big thing that happened is battery power.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Releasing
battery
you from that cord and tied to that brick's power supply and whatnot.
I think that's like the next big step that a lot of machines are moving towards is simplifying and minimizing what you need to put a tattoo on the skin.
Yeah.
So you don't need a foot pedal anymore. You don't need a power unit anymore that plugs into the wall. You don't need a cord going from that to your hand. You don't need springs and coils to tune.
Extra parts, capacitors.
It's gotten very, very simplified and it's just like anything, I guess, like even, all but the internal combustion engine. Like, come on, guys. Over time, it refines and gets simpler and go, instead of these 9 pieces, we just need one of these and it does the same thing and it does it better.
Well, doesn't break down as often.
Right.
Because I don't think people really understand.
Yeah, your old machines you had to tune constantly.
And if something broke, there wasn't like a guy that you called on the corner that would come down and fix that. You had to fix it yourself, and you were relying on whatever information the old feller that was around you or your buddy had to call on the other side of the country or whatever to try to figure out how to get this damn thing working.
And the time factor to boot, like
one of my big pulls when I went to rotaries and went over from coils was if you had a coil machine, you had to set up a liner. If you were doing super tight lines and regular lines, you had let's say a 7 liner for the outside for the thick stuff. You had a 3 liner for the super detailed stuff. Then you had a smaller mag, whatever, like a 7 or 9. Then you had like a 15 to a 23 mag set up. So you got 4 machines set up.
Yeah.
4 different tips, tubes, all this nonsense. And then with that rotary, you can, I'm going lining. Okay, cool. I'm shading. I got one machine. All I got to do is this. And change that little disposable cartridge out, and it's
which
over.
Reduces the amount of possibilities of contamination from person to person.
It eliminated a use for autoclaves for our side.
Well, yeah.
You still have to use them.
Not to mention hours and hours and hours of building your own needles.
Building your own needles.
God, it sucks.
That's the biggest advantage to the cartridges for me, because the cartridges you don't have a relationship with them at all. And I'll explain, because when
I know what you're talking.
Yeah, when you build a needle, you knew that thing from when it was just a tiny baby to now where it's your buddy in the field,
Yeah.
And so you just know each needle. You're not surprised. You know you know how straight it's going to be, where it's going to be, because you frickin' made it. And with a cartridge, you're kind of like, okay, let's see what they did with this one. You're kind of discovering it brand new each time. So I mean, that I miss about the needle bars and everything, but the time it saves me,
it's crazy.
Outweighs by far the positives that I was getting from needle bars.
I remember when I got out of my apprenticeship, it was around the time the first pre-made needle heads and pre-manufactured needles on bars and stuff were coming out. And it was like $10, $12 for one pre-made needle.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember all the old timers were like, F that. I can buy a whole damn thing of them. I can make a whole army of needles for what one needle costs on that.
Yeah, and then when 6 hours of labor in the process.
Yeah, but they didn't care. But it was like Jack saying, you had a needle that you knew from the start to finish. You knew exactly what it would do, exactly how it was put together, how it was going to run. And even when they got the mass production down to where it was pretty cheap, like $20 for a whole box of 50 needles, even though they were all done on a machine, every one of them was different and consistent. It was never like you couldn't pick 2 needles out of the same box and they tattoo the exact same way. It just didn't happen.
So they didn't have the quality control that needed to be.
Well, it's a machine. It's making everyone just like this, but it's how it goes onto the needle bar. If it's a little crooked or if it's soldered high or a little bit of solder.
You could customize them, kind of.
Yeah.
Like if you liked your mags not quite so spread out, or you liked them more spread out, or you could, if you liked them further back on the bar, a little further out, you liked them not soldered quite as far down for black and gray, so they can kind of bristle a little more, and they weren't quite as, you could really
customize
with them a lot.
Yeah, when you get them all out of the box, it comes off that line. Everyone is kind of close to this way, and that's it.
And not to say that there's not hundreds of manufacturers now that make them, but it's a lot tougher to search out to try to find something that's close. And then within that, there's irregularities. So,
and how much crap are you going to end up throwing away? I did this with jewelry. I mean, we have a thing out front, and I'm not advertising this in any way, shape, or form, that just says it's a bunch of jewelry that just says free to get home. The reason why that jewelry's in there is I don't know where it came from. And chances are a lot of that was sample pieces people sent me, and I just threw in a drawer. And the reason why is because the only way you knew was to actually look at the jewelry, use it a few times, and that would give you an idea of whether or not it was something you wanted to stock and sell to the general public.
Right.
And I'm sure with the needle bars, it was kind of the same thing because you didn't know what you were getting.
Well, if you got tattooed
it.
back in the day, you'd see them like take a lighter to it and make it open, like pull the solder back so it would get looser instead of being tighter, or wiggling it or modifying, like always messing with it to get it kind of close to
tuning it
uniformed of what you want. Yeah. You always had to pre-bend them, and so they'd ride the bottom of the tube and open them up or close them off, or whatever it was you had to do to make them tighter or looser. Or
so what do you think?
Stuff.
What do you think could be done needle wise then in the future? Like what
after cartridges are out now? I'm sure there's going to be something else come out that's huge, but I mean that's pretty far from my mind.
There's been a company, at least one that I've seen. They've tried to use like a magnet type of situation to where nothing actually touches the cartridge. It's a magnetic field that pushes a metal piece in the cartridge to make that.
Seems like a lot of parts to go wrong, though.
Well, maybe you could look at it that way, I guess. I don't, but it doesn't have. It would still have that moving piece. It's just that instead of that, the needle bar pushing the rod on the cartridge, and there being a physical touch there'd be a positive magnet here and a negative magnet here, or two norths or two souths, I guess.
But how could you
it would probably run more efficiently and with less drags. I mean, basically, I'm guessing that it's inside the machine itself.
Yeah, and I guess it might give it kind of a little cushion too, because that magnetic push has you can push them together, but they're still going to push apart.
How are you going to make sure every one of them are the same though? Like the polarity doesn't waver or change a little bit in between, and you know what I mean? Like that just seems in my mind
it's electrically charged.
Yeah, there's a north pole and a south pole to every magnet. So when they're making it, they would just turn the right pole, whatever pole it is, that way in the cartridge, and then the machine would always be one way.
I'm guessing, I don't know how exactly a rotary machine goes, but there's still a bar in there moving up and down.
Yeah.
So if it's magnetic, it's like the trains that they have.
Right.
It's going to float kind of, so there's not going to be any wear on the bar. It'll last forever.
Right. But is every magnet so uniform that like every magnet on the cartridge that goes to with this opposite of this one that's in the machine or whatever, are they all the same, or does some of them weaker? And
well, it's going to draw back and forth. That's all it does, and it keeps.
Yeah, but it's got to do it consistently at the same tension.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like a bigger needle grouping would need more.
Right, like if you put the same magnet on every one, it'll run that 3 great, but it don't run the 25 worth of
It'll
crap.
increase or adjust the.
So when the machine you have now does that, what do? You turn it up or turn it down?
Well, you turn it up or down for power.
So
That's can you do that with magnets? Can you adjust the
it's an electromagnet in there because it'll increase the pole in one direction or the other direction, and it'll balance it out. It's a difficult thing to figure out, but once they do, it will be more efficient.
So we got away from electromagnetic machines only to go back to electromagnetic machines.
Yeah, in a way.
Yes, and a round robin.
Using it kind of in a different way, because that's not the motor.
Right.
It's part of the action of the machine. It's not the
kind of a connection.
power of the machine. But yeah, so there's been people that have been trying different things and like
different ideas.
That hasn't caught on yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be hard to imagine, because I think I could have maybe given enough time, probably thought, what would be the evolution of the needle bar and the needle. Well, just having a little cartridge you could put on and take off real easy without all the mamma jamma. I could have maybe come up with that eventually, but to go from that to
it's hard to imagine.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. What's next?
That's a hard one, man.
I think the only way it could advance is if you change the way that it punctures the skin, or what mechanism punctures the skin to deliver the ink.
Yeah, maybe better quality in the alloys.
The rotaries
and
are so precise now.
Steels that are, being used.
Yeah, I mean, unless you move away from it being a needle at all.
That's what I mean.
At the end of the day, you're poking somebody with a needle,
and ink is
to deposit ink in there.
Maybe we can use lasers to.
That's what I was thinking in that direction, but then again,
then it's just a burn, right?
It's gonna. Well, they already do that, the carterizing, where they do branding that style.
Yeah.
But can you burn it?
But I don't know how you would actually eject the skin with the ink.
Yeah, with a burn, the heel's different, so I would imagine
because you are making a cut.
They would reject it.
Yeah,
more.
but heat's gonna pull that pigment out.
Yeah.
It's gonna want. It's
Maybe
gonna
a
want
puff of air that pushes it. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be like,
you know,
it could be
it's
pneumatic.
1 million
Because they used to do shots when I was in the military. They were pneumatic. You go down a line and they would give you one in each arm. There was just this little air thing. And there was no needle.
Yep.
And it would shoot. God, it hurt. But
yeah, they hurt 50 times more.
Oh, yeah.
It's this
It's
air.
forcing it through
well,
the
there was
pores.
what movie was it? It was one of the Coen Brother movies where there was the assassin that was killing people with air guns.
I don't remember.
No Country for Old Men.
That wasn't an air gun. That was one of the.
Ram.
It was a ram. Like
was it a ram? I always thought it was an air
livestock.
gun. Maybe I'm thinking of a different movie.
It's got a post in it.
Okay,
And when you put it up to him, the air compressor shoots that bolt out, and then that bolt goes through your skull. And
It's a
kills
cow killer.
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, it's a livestock killer.
Yeah. So
They don't use the hammers no more.
Nope.
Yeah, and overall machine wise, I mean, them being battery powered is so they're cordless now.
You're going to see an advance in the batteries.
That would be
got to go with it.
Yeah, but that's not like a big change. You know, like a big change was needle bars to
I get that.
You know, so just
Maybe
making
like-
a better battery
Maybe
out
a
of
little bit of fun.
Maybe the stuff in the ink, like they're always putting like nanobots and microchips, smaller and smaller
I've
stuff. Like,
thought
what if
about
you can
that.
start like tattooing that stuff under the skin and then it being used and redded?
Maybe you can just, pop a cartridge onto your cyborg finger and, just start going to town.
Oh, just finger paint.
or
That'd be weird.
little LEDs. Like
Yeah, that
miniature
were powered
LEDs
by
that could change the
movement.
Well, like nanobots
The
that could light up and
reflection,
change
yes.
stuff and whatnot.
Well, I did hear about a pigment, and I don't know if it was real or not, that was for diabetics. You'd tattoo a little patch of it, and it would be one color or look a certain way if you were under certain
sugar
conditions. And
because that brings us into wearables. And like I've always thought that there was a possibility that at one point in time, certain piercing jewelry would actually have some type of low power identifiers in it, to the standpoint of I'm diabetic. The gym would turn orange because we're already wearing wearables.
Right.
Well, you guys don't have yours on today.
No, I don't. I took it off from my shower last night, and I didn't put it back on.
But I mean,
Well, they're
this will
making-
monitor your heart.
Yeah, they're making stick-on temporary tattoos. They're these little sticker boards, looks like a Band-Aid, and you can put those on, and it's good. It'll stay on for like 3 to 5 days or something, and it monitors your sleep and your heartbeat and like all this different, health stuff and whatnot. Or you can put like your bank information on it, and you can just go use that and pay for stuff. They've already come out with that. So I mean, if they were integrated into a way for us to puncture the skin and put it in, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know how that would work, but I do think it's definitely possible to do it inside like a piercing.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, the jewelry, because we already have like LED lit jewelry and different, electronic clock, belly button rings, and all kinds
A lot of that
crazy
stuff's
stuff for
really
years.
generic, gimmicky
Yeah,
stuff.
it's gimmicky
Yeah.
stuff right now, but like it's always advancing. Now they got smart rings. You
Yeah,
can get a
that's
ring
what
that
I'm saying.
You
is
can
that
answer your
if it-
phone and do anything. Like it's
Because
crazy.
like part of the problem of wearing a watch is it gets uncomfortable. You were gonna.
Yeah, you can buy NFC tags and program them yourself pretty easily.
do anything.
Yeah, and you can just put that stuff in, your whatever.
Yeah.
Your
You got the
coffee
Facebook
mug or-
glasses.
Yeah, for like getting in and out of your house and doors and stuff like they've had that technology for
There was
10 years.
a
now.
guy, and he was a piercing tattoo guy, and he had several of them in his hand.
I remember that.
And he opened his door at his house with it. He like started his car, unlocked his car with
He was
another.
his own Alexa.
It's got he and he could basically do about everything in his life with just
Pretty cool.
he didn't have any keys or anything anymore. He was just like this RF guy.
Yep, no
And
wallet,
I think he had magnets too in his
And
hand
his hands
somewhere.
pick stuff up.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Yep.
Levitate stuff.
Yeah. So very
It's
very
interesting.
odd stuff going on
Yeah,
there.
interesting ideas,
Yeah. An identification, of course, is going to be a big part of it one way or another.
What about piercing? Do you see anything coming along super technical to change how you pierce?
would be, well, one thing back to the tattooing is I think that somebody's eventually going to come up with a program that does a good job of transferring images, whether they're just photographs or paintings or whatever, into simple line draws that are easy to work with, opposed to there's kind of that there, but that technology really hasn't quite got there.
Are you saying like a Starship Troopers type tattoo machine,
Like a
that
robot?
tattoos?
Well, no, what I'm saying is
taking
like
the artwork and making
when you get like a bluebird, it pulls it in there, it makes a 3D model for you, and then automatically you can change the poses and everything else.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think that program's going to eventually come about.
and that's not crazy too, because there's an app that Jimmy just showed me the other day that you draw in 2D, hit a button, and it'll turn that drawing into a 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. Like how
That's
how
awesome.
it just because it interpolates. It's AI. It uses its brain just like a person would to go. Okay, he drew this shape. He was probably meaning this thing to be a sphere, and then this coming off. That's more than likely a leg.
Yep.
So it gives it the proportions and the look of what it interpolates.
That's
you
really
drawing.
cool.
And if you draw like a bird and it's pretty close, I would imagine it's got all the reference of the internet. And he goes, okay, well, he's drawing a cardinal. Boom, take all the different references of cardinals, compile it, put a 3D cardinal together, and go, here you go.
Yeah, all it would
Move
have
its
to do
wings or
is
put it wherever you want.
All the AI would have to do is recognize it. Okay, that's a bird. One. Okay, so it's got 2 wings, a body, a head, a beak. I know and where those things are roughly. Looking at it and measuring how long the beak is from how far the eye is and everything. It's this kind of bird. Okay, this and so it knows what it is, and it's going to have that model.
Yeah.
Either programmed into it or be able to get that model or produce that model, so then you can move it around in ways that animal.
Similar to what they're doing with the human body right now.
Yeah.
Like you can download it's a male and a female like slug, a clone basically, just a human body. The muscle texture, size, girth, tone. You can do like break it down to just an arm or a hand or a leg or a foot or a torso. Like they already have that, and we use them now.
Yeah, to draw on the piece.
I'm just saying that somebody's probably going to come up with that, and that's going to be.
Well, yeah, it's not far away.
It's all about. Technology at its best is things that save you time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And and finding and doing the research to find that ballet dancer in that pose. There's like 20-30 minutes to find that, or you try and find something different. And
But if a computer compiled like a female,
this is
and you could move her around however you want, like the ones we had with the people, you can put them in any pose you want, doing whatever.
Right.
If you can do that and then see it in 3D, you can take that and use it to make a reference for your own reference to draw something.
Yeah.
The character of the gladiator that you got fighting the lion in the ring or whatever.
Yeah, I think the closest thing that there is to that now is basically like what I did with the horses in that one piece is I went on to a couple websites that have all kinds of different 3D models on it, and I looked for horses. And so once I found the horse, I was able to take it into my software and just rotate it and get the right angle, but it would be nice to be able to put in a picture of anything, and have it. Okay, now I can adjust the perspective of it and adjust it. Would be.
I know it'll take some
amazing.
computer. It's going to take some.
So yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
And I hate to get all dystopian future on you, but I think the ideal for most people would be to eliminate us from the.
Yeah.
Well,
they're trying.
Not
to that.
general people.
The machine
but
you stick your arm in, and
yeah.
They've tried many times with it.
And it doesn't work very well. Here's what I see that application going. Is you go, like we all went places and put 2 quarters or 1 quarter in and a penny, and you spin it around and you get the mashed penny. That's where that type of thing is going to happen. It's going to be like $30. You put your hand in this cuff and you get this nasty looking,
Well, you
not
get like
that
a little,
great tattoo.
Yeah, you get like
that
some simple
basically
comes on.
looks like, Vegas.
Right.
19 or
Souvenir
2000,
type.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
souvenir
kind of thing.
thing.
I can see the application, but for like really detailed stuff, especially on the human body, which is
Well,
that's the problem I've always seen, because I've watched videos of people that have tried to do this. Like, I'm going to make, they start out thinking it's going to be really simple, and they get in there and they're like, oh, wow, there's
a lot
I'm going to have to
going
have like
on.
80,000 sensors on here, and I got to write this program that's going to be able to measure that and adjust it. And
well, that's what I was going to
they
say.
can't
The
do it.
computer can't adjust. Like when you're tattooing right here, the skin's at a certain tautness.
Yeah.
And then when you come around the corner where the bone's missing and you got that hollow spot where it's real soft skin and it deviates in, so like you got to change the pressure of it and the depth of it.
And the depth.
And
like
that's-
all that stuff's very hard for a computer to do.
And that's assuming that person sitting in the mall
Is
getting
still.
that is still,
Yeah. I mean, it'll basically have to be something. I assume that they would have something that would, like an airbag. in
Yeah,
there.
but even if you flex,
Even if you did,
Even if
moving
you
your
flex or
fingers,
move,
anything
changes that.
That's true.
They have
everything changes.
robot surgeons that do that now.
Yeah.
I have a client.
But you're
that,
emancipated. You're well, not emancipated. What am I saying? I don't know what that word is.
You're
I was
sedated.
emancipated. I don't know what that means.
You're sedated.
When you're sedated, it'd be really easy to do.
But you still have muscle twitches and stuff when you're sedated.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
but Not as much, especially
Not
if
as much
you're on
as if
drugs.
you're awake. Yeah.
Maybe they could, I don't know, clamp you down.
Well, my tattoo was $50, but the anesthesiologist was $1,200.
Stasis jelly, while the robots scan you and figure out every contour. And
I equate that type of thing in tattooing to the way painters, custom car painters and sign painters felt about vinyl when it came out.
Yeah.
Do a lot of people use vinyl? Yes, but they're still painters.
Yeah, it doesn't look the same as a hand-painted sign, man.
Exactly. It's not the same. It's cheaper and it's quick and it serves the purpose. But when you want something really done good and right that's going to last, you still go to an artist.
Handmade is best.
Right. It's kind of like
and
the
it
handmade.
also the more that commercial version's out there, the more the value of the actual hand done becomes.
Right.
And usually the busier they are, like pinstriping a car, opposed to going and buying some tape.
Exactly that. Yeah. I think it'll become illegal, period, before that technology were to get far enough to threaten any of us. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I'm way too old for that.
I gave the kid $5 and he came back with 4 tattoos,
On his
at the mall
on his
again.
face.
Yeah.
He's got an ice cream cone and a Shazam symbol and
a dancing girl on his arm.
I wonder if that trend is going to carry on to the younger generation a lot like Dad's sleeves did. Now their children are coming in and it's, adults have tattoos. My mom and dad have a bunch. Everybody they know has. That's just what you do. It's kind of a normal built-in thing.
Rite of passage.
It's just kind of like you buy a car when you get old enough because, look, everybody's got a car. You didn't even question it. You're like, I need a car. It's kind of the same way being a kid and just being held and hugged and loved by this person with all these tattoos. It just looks normal. Man, I can't wait till I get my tattoos. It's kind of this grow-up thing. I wonder if the facial tattoo thing is going to blend into that as well. As like, I saw all these people with face tattoos, and I wonder if that'll become kind of a commonplace.
I think it probably will.
It will to a degree, but
I
I think it will always be dictated by the market. What career opportunity? I know there's going to start a bunch of comments. It really is going to be whether or not employers are going to employ you.
But at the same time,
it's not a recession-proof situation. Because let's face it, if there's a huge job shortage,
they can be picky.
They can be really, really picky. Right now, in this day and age, they don't have to be picky. They can't be picky.
It's the reverse of that.
They can't keep people in jobs.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot like when I was younger. Ear piercing for men and boys became popular, and it was like, man, you're not gonna be able to get a job. That's just the worst thing you can do.
Take it out or cover it up.
Well, just like tattoos have kind of become, we'll try to find somebody who doesn't have one.
I know.
And keep worker.
Right.
So I don't. That does affect things. It does.
Absolutely.
But there's enough people that don't give a fuck.
They're going to do it. They can't.
Yeah. And like you said, they're not going to be able to not hire someone that doesn't have.
It always comes down to the demand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as somebody who's lived through a couple of recessions, I had to take my ear piercings
and it also shows
covering up tattoos
that there's power
and covering up tattoos.
That there's power in numbers.
Yeah.
It's like,
absolutely.
Hey, you're not going to be allowed to do this if you do that. Everybody does that. Well, okay.
I guess everybody did it. I guess everybody jumped off the cliff. So now we're going to let everybody jump off the cliff.
Hence the united we stand, divided we fall.
Yeah. A person only has the power you give them.
And we all hope that each generation has it better than we did.
They're not now.
They're not
You're
now.
Screwed.
But you guys have it.
As far as having
you got some
visual
technology and
tattoos
shit, but you missed some good
modifications.
stuff. Yeah.
No, this could lead into also on the tattoo side, and we're talking about needles. I think that 3D printing is going to be a big factor in the future. As far as think about it. If you have a 3D printer and you're paying you just pay a patent number or a patent fee, and just manufacture your own cartridges right there in your own.
You still need the needle and stuff though.
Yeah, but there'll be printers that will be able to print that.
Metal. Okay. Yeah, eventually.
Well, they're metal printers now, but they're astronomical.
But they're just starting to get to where you can do metal at home. And it's funny because it's still a filament.
Yeah.
But when it hardens, it's metal.
Weird.
Normally, the way they do it in like big, like at Porsche or Ferrari and stuff, is they'll use a powder of whatever metal they want to use. Say it's aluminum, they'll have aluminum powder in a.
It's like a.
Yeah.
and then they'll shoot it with a laser, and it just fuses that metal.
Yeah.
Where
It's like
that,
an ore.
it basically superheats like a little
Yeah.
cauldron, you know,
melts it right on the spot.
and
That's
melts
pretty cool.
it wherever that laser hits, and so they build a 3D part out of it that way. So, I can't imagine it would be too long before there's some sort of emulsion or something you pour in. You say, I want 25 7 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hit the button, and comes out of this liquid a few minutes
Well, when
later.
you got yours, we were doing the disposable screw-on caps.
Yeah,
for like
the grips.
the grips and stuff like that are very popular. And right now, if you buy them, you can buy them. There's a huge market. When we had the resin
Yep.
3D printer when it came in, dude, you made some of them. They were awesome.
Yeah.
Like you figured out the screw pattern, the threads,
Yeah.
and you made all those for like the Bishop and then the Cheyenne and the different cups and stuff. Man, that was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's
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 just-
almost it's getting pretty darn close.
Yeah, it's pretty close
because
now.
I mean I could make a tattoo machine, but you could make a tattoo machine sitting in prison 50 years ago too.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
had a set player, no problem.
Set
So-
player and some guitar
Guitar
string.
string or anything.
But yeah, but that's a good point. I think
And
3D is kind of got this fine line to where there's going to be the people that have the time and want to mess with it, depending on how easy they get it. To the people who are like, I don't get it, and I'm not interested in getting it enough to learn. So,
And I think there's going to be a company that's going to come along and go, oh, you guys have all these designs?
We'll
I'm
do
going to
it."
give you $20 for that design. I'm going to give you $20 for that design, that,
Yeah.
whatever, all these people. And then they're going to bank all of it and
Oh, yeah.
go, this is how much this costs. This
Yep.
is how much this costs.
They're already doing that in a lot of
Or you
things.
have a monthly membership like photostock.com. You can go in there, you pay $20-$30 a month, and you can go in there and make whatever you want.
Well,
I think eventually it is going to get to that point, but I think right now there's really not that
we got to where we're
amount
making
of
the
designs out there yet.
ink shakers, the ink mixers.
yeah.
Jack's been printing and developing like a couple different kinds. Because I was always like, I'm gonna get a paint shaker and one of them clean paint buckets that doesn't, never had
Yeah.
paint in it. And I'm gonna put foam in it, put my tattoo inks in it I need, and go in the back room and hit it for 5 minutes while I'm setting up. Like, but nobody really wants to hear that, and it's a lot of cumbersome shit.
Nobody wants to hear that.
I grew up with my dad
that's
painted,
the idea.
Did all kinds of art stuff, and a lot of it was automotive, pinstriping and custom painting and all that. I've been around a paint shaker
You hate the sound of it after a while.
a lot.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's where the idea was born out of.
nobody wants to hear that. But luckily my design,
It's quiet.
it only
works.
takes about 30 seconds to a minute, and that's all you need. And you're
Yeah.
good to go. And it's not
Yeah.
as loud as paint shaker.
What's it called?
But it's called the St. John shaker.
And then you got the carousel one,
Yeah.
the Captain Lowe.
That's the better one.
Well, I mean, and see,
Prefer
that's
ever.
how it is. You know, at some point we're going to have this depository, which there are probably already some because I haven't done
Quite
that
a
much
few.
into it.
Yeah.
Where people who create this stuff can get
Yeah,
a
they
little
sell
bit
it.
of a royalty off of
Yeah,
it.
they do that now.
Yeah, they have several sites like that. Some sites will be just completely free. Other sites will have some free or pay.
Yeah,
and
pay some stuff.
And man, I'll tell you what, you go to some of the more medical sites where you can get 3D renderings
Dentures and
of
shit, everything.
organs and bones and all that stuff, and you'll pay $400, $500, $600
Yeah.
just for a 3D file.
Well, look how it's revolutionized dentistry.
Yeah.
Like almost every dental place now has 3D printing where they can make the teeth you need, the filament or the whatever,
molds.
the molds,
Yeah, instead of doing all the
in-house.
wax and the
all the
blah, blah,
sizing.
blah, they
and
scan
sending
it
it out to whoever, and now they do it right in the house. And it's-
Yeah.
And see, that's
An hour or so.
and it comes down to is the reason why people don't use technologies is their ability to use them.
Yeah.
The more broad and weird this thing seems and more complicated, the less likely people. It's like, why do I need that? Why would I ever want that? I don't have that.
I used to be one of the
If you
people,
have something where they can just basically go
Push a
on and
button.
I need a
Yeah.
toothbrush.
dude. I remember for years
It's
when
printed.
They started tinkering with bringing back rotaries.
Yeah.
Before Cheyenne came out with the cartridges and stuff, and I was like, "Why are you trying to fix the wheel? It rolls. Leave it alone."
I was the
Like,
same way.
I was like, "This is just stupid. They didn't work great
Yeah.
50 years ago when we tried them, and we moved on to these for a reason. Like, I ain't
And
going
it's
backwards."
because the technology wasn't
But then
there
the
yet.
technology got better, and now I'm like, I haven't touched my coil machines in 3 years.
Plus, it's not a Walkman either.
Right. Right.
And I would love to get to the point where somebody comes in, because like one of the biggest challenges we have as piercers is finding the correct length of something or width of something to fit somebody's body.
You're guessing how much it's going to swell and this and that
Exactly,
and everything.
but
Like, geez.
Even after that, you're just you're going, well, that looks about 3/16 of an inch, so I should probably put we'll try a 3/16, but it'll probably really need probably a 5-30 seconds, and there's no options for that.
Right.
So to have that ability to 3D print out a
That'd be
brace
awesome.
that fits the person perfectly.
Yeah, because of their body structure.
Would be
That'd
awesome.
That would be rad.
In the individual designs, especially because I'm guessing if the more I would say gold would probably work pretty well
To
Gold and
print.
silver.
Yeah.
You could do-
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, you could
because it's kind of
almost
that's-
liquefy.
it's
You could
soft.
almost resin print that, or not resin print, but the filament print that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you just need a hot enough tip, and
Yeah, with a little gold rod.
you'd have to
do it.
cool it really quickly.
yeah, because you just buy the 14 karat alloyed.
Yeah,
and,
the-
Imagine how expensive that would be.
Yeah,
oh, I know. I buy gold
Golden
jewelry,
Goose.
but think how cool it'd be to be able to print out
That'd be awesome.
a specialty piece that person designed.
That'd be-
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And you could still have a booklet of thousands of designs, and you could
Yeah.
go, okay, you like that? All right, we need it in a 5/32, boop, and then prints out
45
that
minutes.
design
Yeah.
in that size, exactly the size you need.
No more waiting 8 to 12 weeks for your
Nope.
custom piece.
I could see how shoes would be the same way
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
because there already are printable shoes.
Yep.
But it'd be so simple. Or even making soles, you could choose
Yeah.
individual soles. Like, man, I want those ups with those lowers, and you
yeah.
could just bang
Oh, yeah.
bang.
Plus,
would
on
be a-
top of that, our feet aren't exactly the same.
Right,
One's
they're
always
different
bigger than the other
sizes.
ones, and we stuff them in these things that don't fit.
Man, we got from shoes to
Yeah, we went all
kinds
over
of
the place
stuff.
on that.
So the scary part of this would be, of course, tattooing barcodes on people and having special identification, and that being your way of accessing your governmental.
Well, in a scary way, it'd be more regulated by
It-
the big government.
it'll
kinda.
get to
Yeah.
that. And when you're born, you'll get a thing
Yeah.
zapped into you, and that's got your
You get a barcode
social
on your foot or
security
something.
number, and it'll be used to verify who you are.
That's
and they'll
funny.
use the same excuse.
That's funny you say that. I was scrolling through Facebook the other day, and they do the little stories and videos and whatnot. And there's this chick on there, and she's pretty heavily tattooed, but she always comes up with some of the most off the wall topics and arguments. Like the other day, she was arguing with her mom how she doesn't understand how she can't get her newborn kid like a little tiny tattoo on their wrist or ankle or something. I'm like, are you kidding? What? Why would you do that to a child? First off, like you're not even giving them a choice if they want to,
Yeah,
have
that's-
something.
there's
or,
no consent
and
there.
the contortion of like growing when you're like newborn to like 40.
That's gonna
How much that thing? It's going to be horrible. It
man,
started on
yeah.
your wrist. Now it's up in the middle of your forearm.
or in the
and-
middle of your hand. or
and she's
something.
like, "Well, give me
Yeah.
one reason why I shouldn't because it's my kid." And I'm like,
Oh, that's
"Well,
It's
you
your
don't own that person, first off.
No,
yeah.
Like, and you don't get to make all the decisions for the rest of their life for them."
I mean, I know some parents that think that way.
Right. So I was started like kind of listing all this stuff, and she was like, she cleared my stuff and banned me, but whatever.
Good.
I mean,
So
but she was
long.
just trying to like, it was just
Yeah.
so crazy for as a tattoo artist to hear like a person being like, "Oh, what's wrong with tattooing my newborn child?" Well,
that's
like,
wild.
I wouldn't even dream of putting them through that pain or
I wonder if
situation.
if she ever thought of, wow, if my mother would have given me tattoos when I was a baby, and now I grew up and there's one kind of half on my neck and face, and I've got this blobs kind of here and there. I mean, would she'd be totally okay with that?
Well,
Because
her argument was like, "I'm covered in
her
tattoos.
mom-
I look like that."
her mom owned her.
But you're
Yeah.
it's not going to look like that after you grow and stuff. So what
No.
she
Yeah, it's
wasn't
the same reason why I
grasping,
don't
like,
feel
you know.
comfortable piercing infant ears.
Like if I give your infant a bodysuit, it's not going to look like a bodysuit when
No.
they're grown.
and it's not going to
God,
look
that'd be
centered
weird.
when they're brown.
Yeah, just that alone, not even touching the abuse side of it.
Yeah.
Just the fact that it's not going to be at all what you want it to be
No.
later. You know,
Watch the Adam Sandler movie, That's My Boy, and check out his back piece.
right?
And
Yeah.
you'll see what we're talking about.
Didn't one of you guys do a tattoo? It was a memorial tattoo that had something in it that played a song.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. It's
Do you think we're going to see more of that kind of like
the more digital
integration
interaction.
of-
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Interactive tattoos.
There's
We
NFC tattoos, or not the NFC, the
Because I can't remember exactly how that thing worked.
It was,
like you took.
It was her
Sound
voice.
wave.
Yeah, it's a sound wave. Her voice on a recorded, and it goes to this company, and they send me back the tattoo of what the tattoo is, and I tattoo that on you, and then your phone has that app of whatever that company is, and it goes over and it reads that what it says the song is or the voice or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's her talking to him, and hey, I miss you, I love you, or whatever, and like she's passed on, so like he can always hold his phone up and
And
she'll talk
listen
to
to
him. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much of that I'd pay for.
I mean, it's all right. I mean, people are sentimental and
Personally.
stuff.
But I
you know.
mean, that's a cool thing. But are we going to see more industries come in and try to capitalize?
Oh, I'm sure they're going to try to
that
advance on it and do
technology?
something else. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're naming liquors tattoo, you
Yeah.
know, and they're naming makeup tattoo, this or that.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can mix in tattoo and make more money, they're definitely.
And while the wave's going, they're definitely going to do it
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
it crashes.
I mean, we've already seen sponsorship tattoos, which
Yeah.
I think is
I think it's
ridiculous.
crazy. So-and-so casino on my forehead. Like, you nuts.
Yeah, that was,
But
man,
whatever.
and that's been going on forever.
That's been going on for a long time.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, but it did get this little boom of popularity
Yeah.
where people were selling their body parts
Yeah.
on eBay and whatnot.
Post Malone did a Dorito on his cheek.
Yeah, I remember that. Well, I wonder, if it'll get to the point where you're in it could be helpful from the standpoint of something like that if you're impaired speech or what have you, or deaf, to have this tattoo on your arm and just go, hold up your phone and the phone will read it and tell
Yeah,
them things.
it can be
that-
great and it can be abused like anything else that
Yeah.
humans get a hold of.
I would imagine maybe tattoos that change that you can kind of just
Today I'm black and
move
gray
the
religious.
pigment around.
Yeah, I
Tomorrow
would
I'll
like to
tell it.
see that. Like, I know that
LED screens under your skin.
yeah, and the only that uses your own electricity.
We'll be cuttlefish.
Nano.
Yes, I would love to be a
kind of,
cuttlefish. That would be awesome.
I want that.
That would be, I could see maybe, you couldn't really do a temperature thing because, you're almost always the same temperature. But that would be interesting. Maybe that adjusted maybe blood flow or something like
Something to
that. And it
control.
would change. Well, yeah, like
Right.
when you were
Right.
nervous or when
Yeah.
you were
Kind of a
agitated.
mood ring.
A
kind of-
frequency.
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly. Like
that
a-
was white tattoos when they started. You doing them on areas that would flush
Yeah.
when you get like passionate or whatever.
Oh, turn
and you're
pink.
supposed to tattoo these white ones, and so when you get flush, it like shows up a little better.
Or get a
It never
sunburn.
worked well, but yeah,
Well,
that was the
and
idea.
it would work really well. And this is really not a great joke, but if the person, if everybody just got a tattoo on their forehead, that when you met them when you were single and you walked up to them and said, "Hey," and started to talk to them, that said, "Hey, I like you."
or when it says I'm bipolar, or
Yeah,
That'd be helpful. I like yours better.
yeah,
definitely helpful.
bipolar.
If you're an orange, you're bipolar. If you're yellow, you're mellow.
It just kept
different
screaming,
colors.
run, run,
run away. Well, I don't know. I like that kind of danger.
Right.
Some people would, and they would look for that.
But yeah, and I do see that there's going to be some medical applications, I think, in the future, including,
Absolutely.
it'd be really nice. You go into a hospital, there's a guy, there's the guy in the
Instead of wearing your Medicare bracelet or whatever.
in the
it has your
ambulance that
information.
just goes dink, and there's
Yeah.
everything right there. Your
Yeah.
medications, your
What
Dude,
allergic
where's your
to.
tattoo?
what you're allergic
Yeah.
to, everything
your
else.
Well, that would be a
But they-
uniform spot, most likely.
But they have that with RFID, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and there's no, they messed up a little bit, so it doesn't read right situation. It's a little thing. It takes 2
Yeah,
seconds.
that would be a problem.
And instead of hours or whatever, putting it on, then hoping it heals correctly so it can be read. I mean, RFID is pretty much,
Already on it.
taking care of that. That and facial recognition, because really, if you have a face and you're on file, all they got to do is scan your face. And
I made
they
it
have-
easy. I tattooed mine.
Dude, where's your tattoo?
right.
Unscannable.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there's
He's not in the system, bro.
I've never actually tried to take a scanner to any of those bar scan.
I did. I had friends or customers that did it
Did it
back
work?
when it was a craze. And like I would always ask them, like, what do you want the barcode off of? And they're like, I don't know, whatever. And I'm like, okay. I had one off like a Swiffer that I would do that I kept on the board pinned up, and I had one off like a Playboy magazine that was
Yeah.
pinned up. And like depending if you had like a preference or whatever, what I'd use on it if you brought your own or whatever. And if not, well, you'd get one of those,
a Swiffer or a Playboy.
Swiffer
one
or
of those-
Playboy.
they're basically
And I had a couple people
universal
come back and was like,
price.
hey, the lady at Walmart scanned my barcode and it came up like $6.95 Swiffer. I'm like, well, that's what it was. That's what it came off of. So
Yeah. There you
success.
go.
Okay,
Jizz mopper.
because
But
I
if you
want
got it
to
spacing wrong, it did not read it.
I want to say the Slipknot ones, they all claimed it was their barcode from the first record. I don't think it really was. I think
Could
it
be
was
neat.
just some shit they
Could be a
came
neat
up off the
idea.
internet. Yeah.
It would be an easy way to find out. I'm sure you've got that album laying around somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Just then. Oh, and I have a scanner. I'll just scan the back of one of their heads.
And then overlay it over top of the, like on the iPad, if you had one.
Well,
you could overlay it over and match it.
You just need to find the album and look at the barcode and then check the
I know.
numbers.
Have you guys been asked to do a QR code tattoo yet?
I
No.
don't think I've done one.
I don't.
God.
I think those would be really complicated.
I thought barcodes were difficult.
They've done
Right.
it. They've done it, and I've seen
Yeah.
them work. Supposedly, can be done.
Yeah.
I think with the barcode, it's just big. If you try to do it really small,
It's the width in
Have
between
that
the
distance,
lines and the
yeah.
numbers on it.
yeah,
The-
the QRs are a lot more complicated.
Yes. I wonder
Yeah,
how much
that plus
deviation that
patterns.
would.
I was nervous as hell when I
tolerate.
did that app with the, her voice or whatever. I was like, oh God, please
Yeah.
God, let this work.
The thing is with those though is the more information that's in there, the more detailed those things are. So like if you put like a name in, like a 4-letter name in there, maybe, but
Probably
if you're
simplified.
doing like the meaning of life is blah 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 blah,
Yeah, your
thinking you're
favorite
going to
Bible
save
passage.
space. Oh no, that's going to be
just a simple QR code.
I hope
Get a
we're not
QR
giving
code
one
the
of your
size of your
clients
stomach or your
ideas.
chest or something like that. Oh,
The
this
one-
one tells my life story.
Just a whole chess piece.
Yep.
The one I saw was he had a one of those QRs on his chest, and you scanned it, and it went to it rickrolled you. Sent you to,
Nice.
sent you to YouTube and started playing the
See, I would imagine like that would be like on the chest, and you scan it, and then there's a chest tattoo that pops up of like
Oh yeah,
some- that's
like
fun.
Yeah.
a dragon, like something really
Right.
awesome.
This is what
That
I
would be
wanted.
cool.
that took a lot of time and
You could do that.
The
pain.
tattoo of a dragon.
You could do that really easy. That'd be
That'd
funny.
be
You just
funny.
go around and find tattoos you really like. Arms, legs, chest, torso, back.
And you
And
never
then
have to make up
just
your
have-
mind.
Just have QR codes, just like on top of your thigh, and then you scan it, and it shows this thigh all
Right.
beautifully.
And be like,
man.
what's up?
This week I'm this one. Oh, and tomorrow I'm that one.
I think
And
I
it,
just-
it could work for pickups.
I think I
because
just
you could
put us in
say,
the poorhouse.
You just have every name, female
Dude,
name,
if you had
or
a
male
whole
name
sleeve of
imaginable.
those, like, well, today I'm this, tomorrow I'm that, and on
Well,
Wednesday I'm this.
That's the way you'd have to have it now, because you'd have to have like girl tattoos, boy tattoos,
tattoos.
giraffe tattoos, cat Gee, I feel
everything,
like
everything that might be a
monkey.
possibility.
Yeah, I feel like a monkey today. So
Love is
scan that.
That is
strange.
a lot.
Love is strange.
Wow.
So, anything else we can think of that the future might bring?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's about it.
The one thing
I wanted
that
to mention.
A drink you can hold on to.
drink.
Well, then I'm going to mention mine. The one thing I wanted to mention as far as something that's been kind of revolutionary is the bandaging.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's because that's where I see that's what kind of needed help, in my opinion. Like our pigments were getting better, our needles were getting better, our machines were getting better, our preparation materials were getting better and all that, but still you were left with this wound that this person had to take care of in a specific way to make the final result good. So removing the customer out of the equation.
Not saying we have
brilliant.
bad customers.
Well, no,
No, but it's
not at all.
brilliant.
I'm just
It's
saying it's
they
like
don't
eliminate-
know.
different.
making it idiot proof.
It's the same reason they say, well, why can't you do the portrait on the back of my finger? They just don't know how
They
it
don't know
works.
better.
They don't, they don't know. So same thing with healing a tattoo. They don't really know what they're doing and
Right.
why. So take them out of the loop as much as possible to make them unresponsible. Take the responsibility off of them more as much as you can helps, and that's what that
Yes.
the bandaging does.
And everybody was different. Like if mine coming off and washing it so many times a day and lotioning it a certain way, a certain time of day worked for me, it doesn't necessarily mean it worked
Right.
for you.
Plus
but
it-
now
it-
that new bandage eliminates that.
I was thinking about this the other day 'cause somebody commented on something was getting hand tattoos, and that was one of the things I suggested. And I think that's going to make those tattoos that in areas that were troublesome
It makes them
a
more
little
likely to
bit
stay.
more
Yeah.
easier to heal and better
bit.
results.
And then we're able to do more in those parts
Yes.
because
Yeah.
there's sometimes, you'll tattoo a certain part of the body that just doesn't hold on to those fine values or lines like another part. So you can only do so much to make it look as good as it can in that spot. But yeah, with that new bandage,
It helps tremendously.
you can get away with a lot more because it doesn't allow the area to really scab up or to to move in the
and
same
mainly to become
way.
infected, because let's face it, an infected tattoo does not turn
No,
out well.
no. It certainly does not. And thank God that's a very, very
That's a
rare
rare
thing.
Rare thing.
And especially now with that bandage, the stuff I use is 3 days, but there's stuff you can leave on for up to 5 days to a week. And by then you're out of the danger zone for the most part. Like you can still mess it up if you go get a sunburn or you really want to fuck it up.
Yeah,
But
you gotta
for
work at
the
it.
most part, you're not gonna get that motorcycle wreck scab. You're not gonna get that heavy scabbing at all because your body's already kind of over that part of the healing process.
Yeah.
And usually the most you're gonna do is flake, like kind of a sunburny flake and
Well,
stuff.
the newer bandages allow it to be like kind of like, for less better term, like a turkey bag. It holds everything in. Like all that plasma and stuff that you usually like would lose from the bandage and wash off and trying to make your own like protective layer. it eliminates all that, and that barrier keeps that plasma in there, which promotes healing, and that allows it to pull it back in when healed way faster and way more efficiently.
Which is
and
what
let your body do its
arguing
thing.
with people about crusties and discharge. Oh, it has to come off there. It has to come off there.
No,
It's like, no.
It's like back in the day, people would call you the next day. Oh, I got tattooed last night at 10 o'clock, and it's kind of red around it today, so I'm thinking it's infected. First off, infection takes 72 hours or more to develop,
Yeah.
and you've only been tattooed for 5.
Yeah.
It's red because it's irritated as hell.
Because you
It's
cause
mad.
trauma.
They keep
Because you
touching.
traumatize the shit out of that area.
And
You know,
it's pumping blood into the area
Right.
to
It's
squeeze it
trying to heal
off
it.
to
It's
try
pumping
to
plasma.
avoid things coming in. And
The
things,
clear oozy
and
stuff is
and
plasma.
leaking things
Right.
out that make you alive.
Trying to protect it.
The more blood is in that area, the more white blood cells are in that area, which you're going to heal faster. So I would say, do you know that I stabbed you for 5 hours
Repetitively.
with needles? Do you know that? Did you?
And
have
you
ever-
paid me for it.
Have you ever had a wound ever? Like, have you
Right.
ever, I don't know, hurt yourself
Well, a
at all?
stab one.
Yeah.
Did it get red? You know,
Yeah,
like
it's a little agitated.
it's
He got
I don't-
mad.
People, I don't know. I think some people think that tattooing lives in its own magical little wonderland.
Well, yeah, you hear it all the
where
time. I've never bled on my tattoos before. Like, yes, you have.
Yeah.
Or it wouldn't be a tattoo.
You bled on
We
all
just
of
did a
them.
good job of cleaning you up before you looked at it.
That-
That's really what it comes down to. Because I used to get that all the time on piercings. And it's like, yeah.
Oh, I
that's-
didn't bleed. No, you just didn't see it.
No, you
you
bled
didn't see
everywhere.
that.
Especially if
We're
you're
just
doing color.
illusionists.
Especially if you're doing
Yeah.
color, because the black absorbs it a lot. It's they think it's ink. But when you do like yellow or white, they're like, that's pink, man. No, you're pink because you're bleeding. That's white with red coming out of it.
We poked
which
you.
makes
You're
pink.
a big bug.
Yeah.
It was
Again, we don't live in this little magical wonderland where normal physics do not
starting to
apply.
apply.
Nope.
And
We-
normal human
Physics
reactions.
still works.
We're creating
Body
a wound.
reactions.
And not only that, we're putting a foreign substance in your body that your body does not want there.
No, it's trying to push it out.
And it'll do everything it can to get it the frick out of there. And if you help it, it's really easy because your body already wants it to be gone.
Yeah.
So people just they don't live in the
Realm of
ecosystem we
reality.
do, where it's just everyday, common sense to us. And it's
Right.
sometimes hard to
That's
remember
why I
that
cover that. in
we
my
were
aftercare.
tattoo stupid too.
Absolutely.
And it's not necessarily their fault.
So I'm going to add one last thing, and then we'll call it quits on this one. Remote tattooing and piercing.
Yeah, I want my magic arms.
Basically, where there's because they do remote surgeries, and you talked about AI surgery.
Right.
Yeah, if there's a pair of like arms I can put my arms in
I
at
think-
home and look at this screen and like
In bed.
a fake like arm or whatever I'm working on, and I can get like that texture and that feel, and I can do it from here, and it's doing it here or whatever. That's great, but you're back to that robot thing.
Yeah.
It can't tell consistency or
I
whatever.
would think
you know?
the hardest part about it would be because I like feeling the tissue before I pierce
Yeah,
it. knowing
it's hands-on
where the-
Pressure.
Now,
Yeah.
if you guys, a lot of your technique comes down to having that skin.
You gotta
in
feel the
right
canvas, man.
tightness and etc. So I don't know.
You gotta
Screw
feel the
that.
canvas.
I don't. I want a mechanical set of arms like where I would be if I was here, but I want some sort of headband or helmet on to where I can just do it with my brain.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I can
Dr.
just
X.
imagine what I'm doing, and the arms will go, "Yeah, man, I got you."
Professor X and that.
You kind of
Yeah.
connect with the instrument.
Not
Like
me,
the
man. My
robot, the
mind
AI,
wanders and does so much
Yeah.
stupid
You can
crap.
kinda
Jedi magic
feel
stuff.
a little bit of the tactile.
My mind is way too
Yeah, I
sporadic for
guess.
that.
Yeah, and
I'm sure there would have to be like a VR kind of
the
environment.
tactile feedback wouldn't be that hard.
No.
I mean, you have sensors that can push up against something and relay, what that would feel like on another sensor pushing against you. And I don't think that, and even temperature you could do easily.
Yeah.
So I think it's getting these fine, very fine, minute changes and differences in pressure and angle and everything else just right when you need it. Because ask any tattoo artist, you can be attacking the skin at one angle in a spot, and the pigment will fly in.
Mm-hmm.
You can turn your hand a little bit
Nothing.
and do that exact same thing, and it's nothing.
Yep.
So it's there's almost like a like in wood, there's a grain. There's almost like a grain in skin. So getting to a machine to figure all of that out and get man,
That's where
gonna
the
be a
AI
serious
would have
AI,
to come
yeah.
in.
I think we're fine.
But I wouldn't
Well,
trust
see,
my brain to do Professor X style at all.
The
I'm
only thing
so
that would've-
ADD and sporadic, dude. You don't tell them what you get.
The main thing that would appeal to me is a situation where, there's a lot of artists, like the larger old school artists, that I'd like to at least get a small piece from eventually
before they're gone.
But they don't come out to conventions like they used to.
No.
Not now. You have TV stars that come to conventions.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The possibility of going, okay, I can't fly to New York, but I can get Paul Booth to do this little thing on me remotely.
The VR tattoo.
Yeah, for at
That'd
3
be
o'clock
neat,
in the
but-
morning. That would be a cool option.
That would
And the
be
piercing side of it, the hardest part is the movement of the arm. I mean, me and Shan were talking about this the other day. She's like, well, I notice sometimes the needle does this. And I go, that's because you're not moving like this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're swinging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you push. You got to.
And you've got to push. And that's one of the reasons, like, to have a robotic arm that can do this, because we do this motion in some piercings, and to also do this and do it at all these different angles.
Well, they have
how I
arms
used to
and
do it.
hands now
Yeah,
that
it's-
can do and articulate just
Yeah.
like a human arm. So
It's complicated.
Well, it could be
is
like
what
a
I'm getting
piston motion because
Yeah.
it's always going to be consistent if the person's laying correct.
Because like
It's just one smooth move.
was it Levi's that had the Gene one where he can't comes in and just shoots a stud into their
stud in his
nose.
nose.
I'm like, it's never going to be that easy, and it's not that simple.
It's like the robot tattoos.
And once
Yeah.
you did it, like say I had my robot arms and I tattooed an eagle on a guy's shoulder. Well, all those moves could be recorded and replayed for another person.
Yeah, you could do it
and
automatic.
then it would just adjust to the size of the person and the location,
Yeah, I mean because it knows all the movements, it knows when to do what.
kind of like
and-
a player piano.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Once you did that, you could just
Wow.
go, oh, you want that one? Fuck,
You're
I've already done
programming
that
it.
one. Just go
Yeah.
click.
Yeah. So
Every time it's
active,
something
active
redone.
tattooing
And-
would
and
be
that might be a
coded,
huge-
They'd be
basically.
programming it.
And then
Yeah.
That might be a huge revenue stream for people that get, for health reasons, they can't tattoo anymore or retire. It used to be, or
Yeah.
a lot of tattoo artists relied on that flash sale.
It
to-
records all their
to
stuff
help
they've done.
pay
over their
for everything
career.
else that was
Yeah.
going. Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
So if you ever want to duplicate something close to it or a small deviation from it, well, he's done 9,000 eagles, so about 8,000 of them are in the machine. So you can vary.
Yeah, that would be
vary it
really-
just a little
and,
bit, but kind of programming it as you go.
Yeah, I guess
Crazy.
whether it would be a viable thing or not, it would be possible
Neat.
at that
Yeah.
point. Just to
Yeah.
record the movements, because a lot of times that's how you can program a robotic arm is just physically moving the arm, and it knows where the motors are and how it moved to get there. It records that and just
there's a term
replays
for it.
it.
It's called. I want to say it's called stage.
Yeah,
It'd
yeah,
be kind of like a 3D printer almost
program.
because it takes that design you put in it and it reads it. And,
Yeah.
basically.
because you already tattooed and made that
Basically,
design. in it.
you
Yeah.
stop it. It's like
created
it's like stop action animation. You stop
Yeah.
it at that position, and then you go, "That's there."
Yeah,
there,
that's position
there,
whatever.
There,
That's position
there,
whatever.
there.
But it would be doing it just automatically
Automatic
while
learning.
you're actually doing
Wow.
the tattoo. Would be recording all the movements,
Okay,
and then
yeah.
just make those arms do that again,
And it would
without the
sca-
input, and it would
Yep,
it would just do
And
it.
that's-
Again.
Scale it to that person's body
Good.
size.
Exactly.
and-
Yeah, because
yeah.
they have readers on it. You can have sensors on it that reads the body type,
Yeah.
the size, or whatever.
Yeah.
We're just putting ourselves out of work. You better wrap this up.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Oh, I think there's always going to be that level that has to program the thing to get it to work. There's always going to be.
I don't program. I draw.
Well, but your drawing is in actuality
Yeah, it could
programming.
be.
He
it.
tattoos
That's what you're doing.
Pythons.
Every
Right.
time you draw on an iPad, that's exactly what you're doing. Is you're telling it what to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I guess we're done with this one. If you have something you think will happen in the future, go ahead and put a comment down below. We'd be interested to hear. You've been also check out our merch store, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and share with other people. Let everybody else into the party. Till next time, here's hoping all your tattoos and piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, we all hope to see you for your tattooing and body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you for listening or watching.
Call your mom.
Bye, guys.